There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald. My dear friend Burchelle is driving from Utah to Colorado to see family. And so she has been given the day off. So it's just going to be little old me and Chris Logan, who is our guest. And he is a virtual wholesaling real estate guy, and which is something, by the way, I have studied real estate like not at all. So I don't know anything about what we're going to talk about, but I think it can be beneficial for the information that you're going to gather and the type of company that he operates and how it all works for him. So Chris, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. How are you?
Awesome, Kevin. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Love that intro you got, and just excited to kind of speak to some entrepreneurs here in your audience and just kind of like have a great time and see where things go from there.
I think everybody at one point during time wants to be an entrepreneur, but a lot of people are scared because it's not easy being an entrepreneur, especially if you have to create everything from scratch and you're not really sure. You kind of take that guesswork out of it for people, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I got started in real estate around 13 years ago. And it all started for me when a friend of mine at my church handed me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And
Great book.
Yeah,
Highly recommend it.
yes, great book. And that was really the start of it for me. I knew that I was meant for more and wanted to do something more. I just didn't know what that was. And I started reading that book, and I stayed up till like 3 a.m. reading the book and finished it in one night, and then got jazzed up about real estate. But like most people, I had no idea what my next steps were. I just knew that like the concepts in the book blew my mind and I wanted to get started. So the next steps from there, I was checking my email at my girlfriend's apartment. She's now my wife. And I saw that Robert Kiyosaki was coming to Tampa. And I was like, man, I just finished reading the book. This is the perfect time for me to meet him, shake his hand, and tell him how much this has kind of like changed my life, the view, right? And I went to the event, surprised like he wasn't there. She came with me. And they started sharing with a lot of different ways you could get started in real estate. And the one way that really stuck with me that they shared, they drew it up on this board, and it was wholesaling. And the reason that stuck with me, because at the time I was bouncing back from my own setback, and I was looking to get into real estate, but the problem was I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't really have the best credit at the time either. And
common complaint, by the way.
Yes. And so the strategy wholesaling came up, and when the instructor at the front of the room explained how you can basically do real estate deals and get paid without investing any of your own money into those deals, and literally just match make a buyer and a seller together and make a fee for doing that, like that changed everything for me. And they said you could make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a deal. You could do it multiple times a month. And so that was all we needed. So from there, we went to a 3-day class to kind of learn more about how to do it, and started hitting the ground running. Love to say my first deal came within like the next day, but it didn't. Took about 6 months, and we closed our first deal, and that was the beginning of it all for us.
Well, and I want to highlight this because I think it's important.
Yeah.
You read Rich Man, Poor Man.
Yep.
And Robert Kiyosaki. I highly recommend that book.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, but then magically, suddenly, they was going to have a seminar where you lived.
Yep.
And did it strike you at that time that maybe that was a coincidence gone too far, that it was kind of predestined?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it was one of two things. Either Google was listening to me, which is kind of like a little freaky, or it was destiny and fate and all that. But I just believe it was the right message at the right time that kind of led me on that path. And it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. And I'm so happy that we did it, and happy to kind of dive more into my journey there.
Well, and again, I want to highlight this for everybody. Regardless of what it is that you decide that you want to do,
Yeah.
that stay open to the possibilities.
Yeah.
And don't say, "Oh no, I can't do that." If it's something that's you're passionate about and that kind of drives you, that can be something that the universe or God or whoever you call that can conspire with you to make it work for you. And so don't ever say, "No, I can't do that," because you
Yes.
just don't know what the outcome's going to be. And the outcome for you is, not only did you do this on your own, but you created an entire company to help other people do the same thing. Am I right in that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So after we got our first deal, fast forward 2 years before COVID, we found out that you could do this business from home anywhere in the country. So we were already virtual by the time COVID hit, and that's when everything kind of like shut down. And a lot of other people who were not doing this virtually started to freak out because they couldn't meet sellers in person. So that was one of our best years ever. We grew our company to over 7 figures, and now we're really passionate about showing others how to land their first deal with a lot less headaches than it took us, and how they can do this from home anywhere in the country and make anywhere from $10,000, $20,000 a month or more, just doing real estate deals from home.
Now, you do realize that that sounds like, no, you can't do that from home and all of
Yeah.
that. But apparently you can.
Yes. Yes. No, like a lot of people feel that, a seller would never agree to sell their property over the phone. This is kind of like limiting beliefs that I had originally when we first started this. And to your point earlier, that if you go into something thinking that it's not going to happen or you can't do this, then it won't happen. Right. But if you go into it positively, optimistically, and you make this one small commitment, you say to yourself, I'm going to make sure that the only outcome of this is a positive outcome. That changes everything, and it changes how you approach things and how you actually get the end results. So what's really great about this with wholesaling is that you're not actually physically owning a property. So for those who are listening who have no idea what wholesaling is, mind if I break that down really quick?
Oh, I would be thrilled.
Awesome. So wholesaling works like this. So first of all, wholesaling real estate is not a real estate business. It's actually a sales and marketing business. So I'll explain that. So what we're doing is we're actually looking for the worst house in the best neighborhood, right? And we notice these properties typically because they have tall grass, they have, mail piled in the mailbox, the house looks just like it hasn't been really taken care of, and it looks a bit sad, right? So we find these properties, and the way that we do that is by using, you can get lists of these homeowners from list companies or software, and basically you're going to identify these properties. And let's say you talk with a seller, and that seller says, yes, I want to sell my property. Imagine for a moment they want to sell for $150,000, right? You agree to that because you know that you have a buyer that's willing to buy that property from you for $170,000, right? So all you do is you sign a simple piece of paper with that seller called a purchase agreement, and then you sign another piece of paper with that buyer called an assignment. And on the day of closing, which is typically within 2 to 4 weeks, you walk away with the money in the middle. So you're getting paid as a glorified matchmaker for bringing together a motivated seller and a motivated buyer. And the cool thing is you can do this multiple times a month, and you can do it from anywhere in the world.
How do you find a buyer with $100 bills hanging out of his pockets?
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I first got started, I used to think that these buyers were like Wall Street guys, suits, everything, stepping out of limousines and all that. That was just my view of it. But then I started to meet my first handful of cash buyers, and they're people just like you and I. They have tank tops on, they're wearing shorts, flip-flops. That's how they're showing up to these properties, right? And they're just people who have some money set aside. Maybe they've done great saving saving money their entire life, or maybe someone else and trusts them to invest their money into properties because they know the business. So there's a variety of reasons why people have cash, but where we find these people is very simple. On Facebook, there are groups, right? And every group on Facebook has a specific topic, right? So what we're looking for is we're looking for real estate investment groups on Facebook, right? And inside those groups, you're going to have real estate investors who want to buy properties. So what we do is we go in and we find a wholesaler, someone like me, who's posting a property for sale in that group. You're going to see a property for sale post, right? And in the comments of that post, you're going to see people saying, I'm a buyer, I'm a buyer, I'm a buyer, I'm a buyer, right? So all you want to do is reach out to those people and have a genuine conversation. Just say, hey, I saw that you commented on the post in the Facebook group here. Are you still actively buying houses in that area? They're going to say yes. And you're going to say, great. Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. They're going to tell you the types of houses they're looking for, areas they want to buy in, areas they want to avoid. And then you're going to take that information and go find properties that match up with that criteria, right? And when you do that and you bring the property to them, wholesaling becomes so much easier.
I can only imagine. And one of the things that we are going through, and tell me if I'm almost correct in this, or maybe even correct,
Yeah.
is that because of the economy and because of housing values the way that they're rising, but a lot of people are paying mortgages that they cannot afford.
Yep.
And so that's why you mentioned that they may have longer grass, or the house needs to be painted, and all those telltale signs that tell you that they don't have the money to keep this up. And
Yes.
they would like to sell it, but they don't even begin to know how or what it's like. Is that kind of the person that you want to talk to?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And a more obvious situation is someone facing foreclosure. There are listings for pre-foreclosure properties on Zillow right now that you can call those homeowners and you can just offer a solution as a wholesaler. So that's a great way to find these types of properties. You can call people that have properties for rent, and you're looking at these pictures online, the for rent by owners, and how they look they don't look very pretty, right? So you can call those and see if maybe there's a tired landlord behind that who's tired of tenants and toilets and wants to get out. Have a conversation, see if it makes sense, and then from there, make an offer on the property. But the great thing about wholesaling, again, is you're not using any of your own money to do these deals, and you're not getting bank loans or anything like that. And you're literally flipping a piece of paper, that purchase agreement, to a buyer for a fee.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
because you're doing all the homework,
Yes.
and so they don't have to do any of the homework, which
Exactly.
they may have the money, but they're also working 60 hours a week, and they don't have, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not
So,
like they're billionaires. They're working people, and
yeah.
they're working a lot, but they would like to talk about real estate as a good investment,
Mhm.
which is why a buyer like that would want to be in real estate.
Yes. Yes. So a lot of people ask, why would a buyer buy from a wholesaler? Right? Like, why wouldn't he just go straight to the seller? Right. But to your point earlier, buyers are busy. They're renovating properties, they're working jobs. They don't have time to do marketing to find these types of properties. And that's why they rely on wholesalers to be able to do that. And so the reason they're going to buy a deal from a wholesaler like me is because not only are they still buying it for a discount because we're still offering that property for a discount, but there's enough of a margin for them, even after buying the property from me, for them to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on that deal after they put money into the property to fix it up. Right. So all they're doing as a buyer is stepping into our spot in the contract, taking over our commitment to buy the property, and then closing. And then on the day of closing, we get the difference between what we agreed with the seller, what we agreed to with the buyer. And then he goes to work renovating that property. And then once he has the renovations complete, he's going to list that with a realtor for someone to buy that they can love and live in that house.
or they can, if they're interested in creating B&Bs, or they're
Yes.
interested well, as an example, we were talking with a gal just the other day that
Hmm.
she is a flight attendant,
Hmm.
and she takes on properties, and she does them by airports, because the way pilots and flight attendants work is they don't necessarily live where their hub is,
Yeah.
and so they have to find a place to rent that's by the airport.
Yeah.
And if they have a house, or they can, or you can rent them a piece of that house so that they can come there and maybe spend 10 days a month there.
Yeah.
You can make money, and you could do that over and over and over again, which is her particular business model. Is
Yeah.
she might have 20 or 30 people that are all paying rent to the same 3 or 4 bedroom house, but they're never
Yeah.
there at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the beauty of real estate, right? Is that there are so many different ways that you can make money in real estate. And actually, when you're first getting into this, it can be a little overwhelming because you're like, man, there's 100 different ways to make money in real estate. Like, where do I even start? And the way that I recommend for most people to start if they're just starting out is wholesaling. And the reason I say that is because you're not investing any of your own money into these properties, and you can profit from real estate to understand what a good deal looks like, what a bad deal looks like. So when the time comes for you to want to start buying properties and doing these creative things like she's doing, you can make more confident buying decisions. I've seen so many people come out of the gates just excited to invest in real estate after watching HGTV, and they drain their 401k to buy a property, and then they realize they don't know what they're doing. They paid too much for the property, they underestimated the value, or overestimated the value, they underestimated the repairs, and they lose money. I know people that have lost money on their first 5 or 10 deals that they've done when they're starting out as renovating properties. And then the flip side of that, holding rentals, sometimes people look at rentals and they're like, oh man, this is financial freedom. That's amazing. But the one thing they're not taking into consideration is if they're only making $200 a month or $500 a month in cash flow, so money they're actually keeping from that property, and then let's say they have to replace the roof, or the tenant doesn't stay in the property, or he damages the property, that can go away pretty quickly. So the reason I love wholesaling, and the reason why I feel everybody should start with this as their journey into real estate, is because you're not risking any of your own money. You can understand what these good deals and bad deals look like. So when the time comes after like 12 or 18 months of doing this, you can really make confident buying decisions and accelerate the growth of your portfolio and really put yourself in a good position.
And by the way, we're talking with Chris Logan, and Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple is his company. And when we come back from this break, I want to talk to you about your company and how you make virtual wholesaling made simple. And so we need to take this break, and we'll be right back. And hold on, I got it. Oh, here we go. We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is off today. I really wish that she was here, because she could learn so much from you, because she has aspirations to do wholesaling in real estate and stuff. And to tell us how it works. If somebody, now I went to your website and it said, see if you're a good fit for us. And then you start by putting your name and stuff like that. I didn't follow through because I was going to do this, but how
Yes.
does that all work? How do you make it all work for folks so that it can be not such a terrifying prospect?
Yes, that's a great question. So when people get started in real estate, there's a lot of different ways for them to get started, and so they can get overwhelmed very easy. So our main thing is keeping things simple, just like our name says, Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, right? Mainly because when I first got started in this business, things were not simple for me. The people who explained to me how to do it They didn't explain it in a way that I really understood, and it took me a long time to get it. So what my passion is really showing people, brand new wholesalers, how to shortcut that journey to where it doesn't take as long as it took me and get them to focus. So the first thing that we do to help people have a fast start in this is, first of all, kind of like understanding what their goals are. Where do they want to be? What is it that they are looking to have virtual wholesaling provide for? Some people are like, I'm a little bit behind on the retirement savings. I'd like to pad those accounts. Some people say, I'd like to pay off my house. I'd like to do X, Y, and Z, right? And so we get really clear on their game plan of what they're looking to do. And then from there, we basically give them the exact steps to be able to walk as a virtual wholesaler to be able to hit that goal in the time frame they're looking to do it, right? But it all starts with a foundation and keeping things very, very simple. So most wholesalers, when they're first getting started, they're told that if they find a good deal, it'll sell itself. But the challenging part is a lot of new wholesalers, when they're getting started, they don't know what a good deal looks like. So how could it sell itself? So what we show them how to do is we show them how to grow that buyers list we were talking about earlier first, right? How to find those quality buyers, those qualified buyers that are actively looking to buy investment properties, and have conversations with them. And we even show them how to guide those conversations. And then once they have that information, we show how to take that information the buyers are telling them and use it to go find those types of deals step by step. And we hold their hand basically throughout the whole process. And then once they find those deals, we show them how to evaluate those properties very simply using our easy offer method. And then from there, they get those properties under contract, they bring them to the buyer, and then they get deals closed. So the main thing that helps us stand out from far above other people that show others how to do this is that we keep people focused, right? One strategy. Too many people try to bite off more than they can chew, doing like 5 different strategies when they start in real estate. But the reality is you only need one, right? And so we keep them focused on one and taking massive, imperfect, immediate action. You don't need to know everything before you can start. You just need to start with what you know, take steps, and then again, we're there to guide them every step of the way.
So let me ask you, because I'm really intrigued now, because it's almost like you are a sales and marketing company and you're getting paid commission by the buyer to find these properties that they would want to buy. And rather than them, because a lot of guys will look at all the work that's involved and go, I don't have any idea how to do it. I'm a doctor. I don't know. And so when you say to them, tell me what you want, and do you charge like a 20% commission? Are you that upfront with it, or do you and be upfront with the purchase price plus the commission equals what they pay and all that kind of stuff? How does that work?
Yeah, this is a great question, because this is where a lot of people get stuck when they're first starting with this. So what we do is we find out what the buyers want, right? And they kind of give us a general idea of what they're willing to pay for properties in certain areas. And then knowing that, we go find those properties and put those deals under contract with the seller, right? And so when we bring that deal to the buyer, they don't know how much we're making on our assignment fee. That's the fee that we make as a wholesaler. That's how we make money, right? So we're making a fee for assigning our purchase agreement with that seller to that end buyer, right? And he won't find out how much money we're making on the deal until the day of closing, right? And so that never comes up. There's no selling involved. You're not really selling the buyer, kind of like convincing him to work with us. It's actually the opposite. We don't want to sell sellers on selling us their property. We don't want to sell buyers on buying properties from us, because even if we could, it would never be the deal that we want, right? So we're in the business of solving problems, identifying a need from a buyer, taking that information, and then go finding properties, and then identifying a need from a seller. Most sellers, the reason why they work with wholesalers is because of 2 things: speed and convenience, right? If they want maximum price, they're going to list it with a realtor. But most of the sellers that we work with, those types of properties are not really a good fit for listing with a realtor in the traditional way because of the condition. We work with a lot of hoarder homes, and these people that own these homes, they don't want people walking through, showing the house and everything like that, because they're just not in really good condition at all. And so we're really providing a valuable service to people, the sellers, because we've saved people from foreclosure, avoiding bankruptcy, those types of things. And then with buyers, we're helping them put food on the table for their families and providing them a reliable source of off-market discounted properties.
You know, what's interesting about that is that when you're talking to a seller
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting notices in the mail,
Yeah.
and then that things are not going well. They either lost their job or they bit off more than they could chew when they did the more original mortgage, or the insurance went up, like they're in a flood zone, and all of a sudden their insurance company says, "Oh no, you're in a flood zone. We're going to raise your insurance and stuff." And
Mm-hmm.
they're getting all these notices, and then they go talk to a real estate guy, and the guy says, "Yeah, you know what, we could get decent money for this, but you're gonna have to put a new roof on." "I don't have any
Yeah,
money to put a
exactly.
new roof on."
Mm-hmm.
And well, we'll just charge the buyer for that, but you got to put the roof on first. "I don't have
Mm-hmm.
the cash." And the real
Yeah.
estate guy is not going to say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll give you the cash. Here you go." That never
Exactly.
happens. And
Yeah.
and and then they say, "Well, you know, how old's your water heater?" "It's 15 years old." "Oh, you're gonna need a new water heater." "How old's your
Yeah.
furnace?" "Your furnace is 14 years old." "Oh, you know, it's probably at the end of its lifespan. So you're probably gonna want to do that." So now you're talking 25 grand
Yes.
just to get the property in a decent spot. And most people, well, if you're about ready to declare bankruptcy, you don't have 25 grand lying around.
Yeah. Yeah. And even on top of that, as a wholesaler, we tell people that they can take what they want from their house and leave the rest. Right. So
Oh,
sometimes people inherit these properties, and there's a lot of um, junk in there, and then a lot of memories. Right. And so we tell them they can sift through the stuff in the house, take the memories with them that they'd like to take, and they can just leave the rest. And then we kind of take care of everything from there. And buyers who buy the property from us, they buy them as is, where is. And so they're buying them with everything in them too. So that's another benefit for sellers who are distressed or going through these kind of serious situations, to work with wholesalers because of that. So it's really a valuable service that we can provide.
and especially if it is an inherited property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if there are two people? Now, do you vet them to make sure that if it's an inherited property, that you don't have multiple inherited people trying to go for the same property, and there are lawyers involved and all that kind of stuff? Do you shy away from all that?
No, so we have a lot of experience in working with those, and we share that experience with our coaching clients too. Those have been we've done a lot of those different types of deals. One deal that we did had I want to say it had 25 heirs that they all had to like agree on the price.
Right.
So yeah, so it can get really messy sometimes, but that's where like having the proper guidance there and just understanding like how to navigate those situations, that can really kind of help make sure that you're making the right moves and decisions and you're saying the right things and all that. So that's really what we like to help out with.
25 heirs to a property. That's like
Yeah.
herding cats. And there's always going to be that one guy,
Yeah.
that's going to say, "Oh no, no, it's worth double what you're saying,"
Yeah.
and then they said especially in a market like today.
Yeah.
In the second half of the show, I would like to talk to you about what's going on in the housing market, because and
Yes.
in your world, can you make money regardless of whether the market is up, whether the market's down, sideways? Is it still possible for you to continue to do what you're doing?
Yeah. So that's the best part of wholesaling, right? Because it doesn't matter if the market's up. We just contract properties for a little higher and sell them for higher, right? And if the market's down, we contract properties for lower and we sell them for lower, right? So wholesaling really is a fluid business that's not really affected by the swings in the market, right? And so that's one of the big things that people have to be aware of, especially brand new people getting into this. Let's say, they're like, no, I want to fix and flip first, right? Well, let's say they buy a property, right? and then the market shifts like that, then they're stuck holding a property they could take a loss on. But with wholesaling, if you have a deal under contract and the market flips or switches or something like that, you just simply cancel the contract. It's easy, and it's like by far, like I said, the best way for people to get started with little to no risk with it.
Years ago, I had a friend of mine that her and her boyfriend and another couple thought they'd
Mhm.
go in on a house in West Seattle, which is where I live, and there was a
Yeah,
hoity-toity neighborhood.
yeah,
And so they bought the house at market value, and they said, the market's doing really well, and it's going to go up and stuff. Well, yeah, but they spent far more than they thought they were going to. They didn't
yeah.
do the math correctly. And
Mhm.
so they ended up putting all this work in and then trying to sell the house. It didn't sell and it didn't sell, and they ended up losing a buttload of money.
Mm. Yeah, that pains me. I've been there before, so that pains me to hear that. And
Because every day they're sitting there going, "Do we get an offer today? Did we get an offer today?
yeah.
No. Oh no, it's going to get worse and stuff." By the way, we're talking with Chris Logan. We need to take our halftime break, but Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple is his company, and it is virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, and go there, find out all about him. He is a really cool guy, and I get the impression, and when we come back from this break, I'm going to ask him, I get the impression that you really do care for the people that you work with and are training to learn how to do this, because if you got the wrong guy training you, it could be not such a good thing. But congratulations on what you're doing, and I'm glad you're doing 7 figures. Can I have a couple of those figures? And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Burchelle. But Burchelle's off today. She is moving and shaking and doing stuff. I wish she was here because she would love this. I'm going to have her listen to this episode and to get in contact with Chris, because
For sure.
I really think that for the right person, I think this could be a great way for you to change your. Let me ask you. Does it make your heart fuzzy and warm when you can change people's lives for the better because of the work that you're doing with them?
It does. And the great thing about wholesaling is that we're put in people's lives at a very unique and special time where we can solve a big, big problem for them and at the same time make a great income while doing it. Right. I think that's something that a lot of people want, right? A lot of people go through life walking through the day to day, kind of going through the motions of their job, and they don't feel like they're fulfilling a purpose. They don't feel like they are accomplishing anything outside of being a cog in the wheel, right? Or a cog in the machine. And so, what's really unique and special about this opportunity is that we can help people, but at the same time, make a fantastic income while doing it. There's been sellers we work with that we've stopped bankruptcies, foreclosures. We've prevented family members from killing each other. a lot of different situations. But in every single one of those, like, it's always cool to kind of see it to a conclusion and help them move on to that next chapter of their life. So that's one of the best parts about it, is that yes, you can make great money doing it, but at the same time, you can solve like a real problem out there.
Well, and the way the market is right now, it's
Yeah.
different, and it's well, since you're closer to it than I am, I just know what I
Yeah.
read. Tell
Yeah.
me what's going on with the market today.
Yeah, so people are having a bit of a tough time today in this market. There's a few things going on. So mortgage interest rates on mortgages have come down a little bit, right? But a lot of buyers are kind of still sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting for rates to come down a bit. Also, housing is not cheap right now. Housing, especially in Washington, housing is kind of through the roof, right? And so people are in this unique position where even if rates come down, it's like, can they afford to buy right now? Right. So that's a unique position that they're in. Also, right now, with there's several things going on. Like, for example, the like, people are starting to become late on car payments now. Right. There's an increased amount of people that are 1, 2, 3 months behind on their car payment. And the car is like the last thing people want to go, because that's how they get to work. Right. So that's kind of like a big warning sign of things to come when we start seeing things like that. Outside of that, houses are sitting a bit longer on the market too right now, right? So if people are fix and flipping, usually they could get a house sold in 30 days, 60 days, but now they're sitting on there 60, 90 days, even longer, right? So there's a bit of an adjustment going on right now. There are companies that are downsizing to save on cost. There are some companies that haven't really recovered since COVID. And so they're letting a lot of people go, shutting down. And when that happens, people lose their jobs, and that affects housing, right? So there's just a lot of things going on right now, especially with the increased price of things, that's putting people in a spot where there's too much month at the end of the money. And so they're overflowing their
Say say that again. I love the way you said that.
yeah, there's too much month at the end of the money. And so they're putting that difference on credit cards. And then when the credit cards start becoming behind, then there gets to be a big problem there. So this is a beautiful time to be able to help a lot of people. It's going to be a hard time for a lot of people, but that's why I feel like we're uniquely positioned to kind of like help with that.
And one of the biggest things right now, and it's got to fix it. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to fix itself, but there are people that are in a mortgage that they've had for 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
and they're paying X number of dollars per month.
Mhm.
And they look at, well, how much is it going to cost to get an apartment? Oh, we'll just get a 2-bedroom apartment, and we're going to downsize. And
Yeah.
they look at the apartment is $500, $800 for a 2-bedroom apartment, more than their mortgage is
Oh yeah.
today.
Rent prices are through the roof right now too. Yeah.
And that, I think that there's got to be a balance. I would love to believe that we're going to go through all of that without much pain, but I kind of think that there's going to be a measure of pain involved.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing more houses for sale, which means more opportunity, more inventory on the market. So for the longest time, we've been in the longest sellers market for the last like 10 years. Okay. And so for the people who are listening that don't know what that is, a seller's market means there's more buyers than sellers. So inventory is low, like housing is scarce. And whenever that happens, prices go up because of supply and demand. The lower the supply of something, the higher the demand, the higher the price. The more supply, the lower the price, just because there's more options, right? And so now what's finally happened in the past year is we've shifted over into a buyer's market, right? To where now there are more sellers than there are buyers. And the market is kind of like, sellers are feeling it right now. Their houses are taking longer to sell. Buyers have more opportunity. So what does that mean? They're being pickier, right? So before they're like, yes, I'll buy this house because I may not get another one, right? Now they're like, well, I have these 5 houses to choose from, so I think I'll go with this one, right? So the demand has cooled off a bit, but this is the reason why having the right guidance right now is like so important. And as a wholesaler, pricing our properties that are more conservative instead of like shooting for the moon on every single one is going to be a great strategy moving forward.
And some of it's really, really tough for folks because
Yeah.
they are in a position where they don't make enough money
Yep.
and the upkeep on their house isn't very good. It's and like we discussed earlier, and they're
Yeah.
going to have to put a bunch of money into the house just to get it up to selling standards. Where you come along and you can say, is that why there are people I see signs on like signs on like total or on uh, uh,
The
what
light
they
poles. I know what you're
call
talking
them. But
about.
yeah, the
Yeah.
light, yeah, where it says, "We'll buy your house as is. We'll buy
Yes.
your house cash," and
That's a
that kind of stuff.
wholesaler. Yes.
That's
Yep.
what they're doing. Okay,
Yep.
I get that because I never trusted that was actually a real thing.
Well, you know what's funny about that? So we used to put those signs. So when we used to do this business locally, and locally means we would meet sellers in person, sign a contracts in person, go to properties, meet buyers and stuff. Now we do all this from home, makes it a lot easier. But when we first started, we didn't know any better, and so we did this locally. And we used to put out those plastic signs on the side of the road that sit in the medians, right?
Oh
That
yeah,
says
yeah,
"We buy
yeah. I've seen
houses."
those.
They kind of look a little sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the limiting belief that I had in my mind is no one is going to call a sign, a plastic sign with Sharpie marker written on it saying "We buy houses" and sell the most valuable thing that they're ever going to own in their life. No way, not going to happen. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to imagine the positive outcome being the only outcome. So I'm going to put out 100 of these things and see what happens. I was shocked when I started getting a ton of phone calls in, and we actually did a lot of deals that way.
Really?
Yeah. People
Well,
actually call those signs.
it's amazing when somebody is, and there's a little bit of desperation when
Yeah.
somebody doesn't have the ability to, and I can only imagine you're behind on your mortgage, you're
Mhm.
facing foreclosure, you're
Yep.
behind on your car payment. That's, when those two things happen, you're one step above homelessness.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So it's a great thing to be able to help people in that circumstance and then also make a great income while doing it. So it's a very valuable service right now, especially with kind of like where things are headed.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with making a profit on what you're doing because you're doing all the legwork and
Oh,
you're putting
totally.
these people together, which is, in my mind, it's a commission.
Yes.
Is what you're earning, and the commission that the buyer is
Mhm.
happy to pay for because they don't have to do all the legwork, and you found the house and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. You're giving them a house, you're giving them a deal on a silver platter. All they got to do is buy it from you and start doing what they do best, which is fixing up the house to flip it.
That's the part I'd hate and I'm not a real hands-on kind of guy. So
Yeah,
I
me
would
either.
end up because don't you, if you're going to take the house and flip it, don't you have to do most of the work yourself?
You can, or you can hire contractors. We've renovated a handful of houses and it just was not my thing. I do not like managing contractors. I feel like it's like managing a bunch of kids. No offense if there's any contractors listening, but it's true. Um, and when you're wholesaling, it takes away 75% of the headaches because there's also something to be said about when you're buying these houses, you have these large chunks of cash coming out of your bank account and then going into this property and it's tied up there until the property sells. And when it sells, you get this large chunk of cash back, but you're always on this like cash flow roller coaster, right? But when you're wholesaling, you don't have to deal with that because you're never physically buying the properties. But that's a big reason we got out of it. We did very well in a lot of flips, made some mistakes on a few of them too. That was pretty costly, but that's all part of the journey. As an entrepreneur, you're getting started, you're taking massive imperfect action, you're getting some bumps and scrapes along the way, you fall down on your face a few times and you get up and just dust yourself off and take another step.
That flipping thing, if you guess wrong,
Hmm.
it can be $100,000 lesson.
Oh yeah. Yep, I've learned that lesson before.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
Pouring salt in the wound, it's fine.
well, it happens. And
Yep.
but by the way, again, we're talking with Chris Logan, and go to his website, which is Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple.com. I got to tell you this, guys and gals, it's worth a call. It's worth your time to go see if you're a good fit and go on his website. When we come back from this break, I'm going to ask you, when you go and fill out the information that you're looking for, what kind of information are you looking for to make sure it's a good fit?
Yes.
We need to take this real quick break. Please, everybody, pay attention to this. This isn't a commercial. This is a statement from Positive Talk. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Michelle's off today. And Chris, Logan, that's why your assistant wanted you to be on this show, because that kind of thing is really what we talk about here a great deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the positive message that you guys have. Like, there needs to be more messages like this in podcasts, because this is something more people need to hear, for sure.
Well, and the thing is that we are not sensationalists, and we do not make claims that we cannot back up, and we are not conspiracy theorists, and we don't do any of that. We try and help people live a better life. And one of the ways that they can live a better life is by going to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. And there is a form that you get to fill out, and it's right there on the front page. It says, click here and say, it says something like that. Click here and see if we're a good fit. When they get into that, what are you looking for to see if they're a good fit?
Yeah, for sure. So when people are going to get started in coaching, like, the first step is acknowledging, like, if they're getting started in real estate, like, I need a guide, I need a coach, right? Some people know that's what they want. Some people are just kind of like not so sure, but they're open to the idea, right? So when you go to when you go to our site and you click see if you're a fit, it's going to open up a form with some questions that's going to really help me get a better understanding of, like, where you're at, what you're looking to do, what your goals are, to see if even we're going to be a fit based on that, right? And then from there, it's also going to ask you about it's going to ask you, like, where you're at financially, if you're able to invest in a coach, if that's the right time for you right now. If it is, fantastic. If it's not, you can also select that, and then I can reach out and have a conversation to see where things are at, to see where would be the best direction to point you. Because outside of that website, we actually have a free Facebook group that you can go to and join as well. If you find me on Facebook, my username is Chris Logan, REI. And on my main page, there's a link. You can click on that and it'll take you to our Facebook group. So you can kind of like learn more about us, what we got going on, how we do things. And then from there, if you'd like to book a time to talk, I'd love to chat and see if coaching could be a good fit. But there needs to be two things to happen before someone can get started with coaching. And number one, them acknowledging the need that they need a coach, because they don't want to do this on their own. They don't want to spin their wheels and take all the time of trying to figure things out on their own and make costly mistakes. And then number two, they just have to be in a spot financially where it's something that they can invest in and take that next step. So that's really what those questions are for. It's really to kind of understand their situation a little bit more, so we can see where the best way is we can support them.
Being a coach is great. Having a coach is better.
Yes.
Because the reality is, I know a guy, he's a financial analyst, and he makes close to 7 figures a year. And he has 2 coaches.
Yes.
And so I asked him one time, I said, you've got 2 coaches, but you also coach people. Why do you have coaches? And he says, because they can see my blind spots.
Yes, totally.
They can help me so that I don't make massive mistakes that are going to cost me a whole lot much more money and stuff. And also I can learn from it. And you've already done, see what I love about what you're doing, Chris, is you've already done all the winning and the losing and the heartache and all of that you can short circuit a lot of that, and to give somebody a clearer picture to success, because you're able to say, that's a great idea, but we did that 4 years ago and that didn't work. And here's why.
Yes.
And so you can keep them following your blueprint and doing well. Speaking of which, I was in the restaurant business for a long time, and I'll tell you this: if you were a franchisee and you bought a McDonald's and you decided, I'm not going to do it the way that they do it, they will fire you.
Yes.
And plus, you're not going to make any money, because there is a tried and there is a true process that they utilize and that has been proven to be successful. And that's what you want when you're hiring a coach. You want somebody that is proven their methodology, whatever that is, so that they can be successful, so that you can be successful. And that's what you do. And you're also a really cool man, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what a coach does. They help people identify their blind spots so they don't make costly mistakes. I have people that come to me and they say, hey, I tried to do this deal on my own. It didn't work out. And now I'd like to hire a coach. Right. And so I learned a little bit more about the deal, and I found out that they lost $10,000 or $15,000 by just simply not knowing what to do. And so I've always been one for getting to where I want to go as quickly as possible. I don't want to figure stuff out on my own. I'd rather learn from the mistakes of others than go through mistakes myself. And that's why I even have coaches. So I have two or three. I have three coaches right now. So it's so important to practice what you preach, because again, there's limiting beliefs we have at all levels. And that's a big thing that I see with people getting into real estate, is they have limiting beliefs around certain things and those blind spots, and they don't know what those are until a coach points them out. But finding out what those are early on is critical to to getting the results that you want to get.
Well, you remember that old saying? I don't know how old it is actually, but it's that saying: if you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right.
Yep.
I think that was Einstein, as a matter of fact. Maybe. I don't know. But in any event, it makes a tremendous amount of sense, because if you believe in something and you believe that you can do it, and you don't have limiting beliefs. Do you run into people that have a limiting belief that says, oh, I can't make that kind of money on a house? But like in my market, there are $1 million houses or $800,000 houses, and 40,000 on top of an $800,000 house is percentage wise isn't much. So is it possible to do that? And you have somebody come from California and they just sold their property for 3.2, and they're coming up here and they're looking for something, but they have no idea, but they want to keep most of their money because that's their nest egg. And so with 800 grand, they want to put that in. Does that ever happen in your world?
Yes. So when it comes to that, the types of properties that work the best for wholesale are the ones where the after repaired value, so the value of the property once it's totally remodeled and fixed up, is somewhere between 200 and 450,000. What we have found is when you go above 450,000, it gets really tough to wholesale those properties, because you're working with a different type of a seller. You're working with different types of buyers. You need deeper pockets to be able to perform on those deals. And so we typically stay away from areas like that. And that's why virtual is an amazing thing, because let's say you're in an area like California where that's all the types of houses that are there. Competition is through the roof. You don't have to beat your head against the brick wall there. You can go to any state across the country. And that is the power of being able to go virtual.
There are a ton of properties like in the Midwest and that sort of thing. So I would recommend the Seattle area is not a very good.
Seattle's a tough market.
It's not. Well, hell, I can't afford a house here, and I live here. I've lived here all my whole life, and but they're yeah. So follow your coach, and if he tells you virtually, and which is really cool because as an example, in St. Louis, they're trying to renovate a lot of the area, and so they're but the houses still are not very expensive.
Yeah.
And as long as the thing hasn't been condemned, I think you're okay. But you need to
Yeah.
do that work too.
Yeah, there's a lot of older houses in St. Louis. The St. Louis market's actually on fire right now. The Midwest as a whole is on fire right now when it comes for real estate. But that's the key, is really understanding the types of areas. So I've actually found that there's a two-step. So we came up with a two-step formula for identifying the hottest territories across the country. Mind if I share that with your audience?
Oh, people are writing this down.
Awesome. So there's two steps to identifying top areas to wholesale real estate that have the most buyers, right? So the first step is you want to go to Google. And once you're at Google, you want to type in a county that you're looking to start in, right? Most people I find when they're first getting started, they have an idea of where they'd like to start. Sometimes they want to look at their own market they live in. Sometimes they want to look in another state because they had friends that lived there and they really liked it there. And so everybody usually has a place that they want to start. So they take a county. So they're going to pick a county and they're going to put it into Google and they're going to type in that county, state, and they're going to type in population size, right? Google's going to kick back the population size for that county. And what you're looking for is a minimum of 250,000 people, right? Any less than 250,000 people, you're going to fall more into like a rural territory. So there's going to be a lot of sellers there, but not many buyers, right? So the second step is going to Google again and typing in the county, the state, and the median home price. So for those who don't know what the median home price is, if you picture houses on a timeline, where you have the $50,000 and less houses on the far left and the multi-million-dollar house on the right, the median price is the one in the middle. And it's the price point that most people buy and sell, right? It's the house that everybody's looking for. So what you're looking for, there should be a link to Zillow there. You're going to click that and you're looking for that median home price to be a minimum of 200,000 and no more than 450,000. So if you can start in an area that has a population size of 250,000, and then there's a median home price of between 200 and 450,000, you're in a great potential area to start wholesaling houses. So there's lots of buyers.
See, the difference is in what you just described takes a great deal of trial and error to figure that out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what you're doing, and that's why you hire him as a coach, is that he is giving you the benefit of his scraped knees and elbows and stuff as he's gone through this. And congratulations on what you're doing. I wish you much success in everything you do.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Kevin. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed this time on the show. And if anyone is looking to learn more about virtual wholesaling, you can go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, book a call. Love to connect with you. Or you can go to my Facebook page, Chris Logan REI, and check out my free group there. We do free trainings in the group every Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST.
Very good. And are you in Florida?
Yes. Yep. I live in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, so on the west coast of Florida.
Oh, very good. Any alligators and boa constrictors there?
Oh yeah, all of them. Yeah, in Florida we have everything that can kill you. We got hurricanes, we got gators, we got snakes, we got spiders, all that stuff. But you know, I love it. I've lived in Florida my entire life, and you know, the only thing I don't like is the humidity, because when it gets hot in the summertime and it gets over 100 degrees, I mean, that's a little crazy. We've had some hot spells here recently, but I live where most people vacation, so I can't complain. I got a beach 15 minutes from anywhere you are in the state, so, or anywhere in our area. So,
and the water's warm, and you can snorkel and all that kind of fun stuff.
Oh yeah, especially in Clearwater on the side where we live, like the water is crystal blue. You can see right through it. And you go up to like Manatee, Sarasota area there too. Like that water is just beautiful. So we got some of the best beaches in the country.
So move to Florida and not to Washington. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a public service message on behalf of. It rains 300 days a year here. You don't want to live here. So maybe the housing values will go down so I can afford to move into a house. So Chris, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, Kevin. Thanks for having me. It's been fun and really enjoyed it.
And again, go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. Chris Logan is the guy that you're going to get to talk to. And yes, you get to talk to him directly. And I hope everybody has a great day. And thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.